This video is going to focus on settings that will critically change and improve your gameplay for Lord of the Rings Online. Some of these changes are a little obvious, some are small, but it can actually make a huge difference when it comes down to how you play the game, how you're enjoying the game, and it just makes your life a lot easier. Here are 10 settings that can help you improve your LOTRO gameplay. Number 1, customizing your UI. Now the user interface directly shows all of the visual information in your gameplay. I mean, if you see the map, if you see the quest log, if you see your vitals, that essentially can be moved in the user interface. You can even minimize and enlarge things. So me personally, my quest log takes up so much space that I actually like to minimize it when possible. So you might be the opposite, and this is exactly what you need to help work with those settings. In order to access the user interface, you have to do Control and hit the backslash on your keyboard in order for the menu to pop up. And there should be like a lot of different small slim menus that pop up that kind of explain what you're dragging and dropping all over the place. And if you need more help on that, because it can be a little confusing and it requires just a little bit of key memorization, there will be an article that's linked down below that will go into this a little more in depth. But there will also be tips on how to save and load your user interface. That way you don't have to rearrange your layout of your screen every single time you make a new character. Number 2, increase your ambient light. Now the ambient light setting is essentially the natural light that surrounds your character in order for you to see, and it highlights a couple more details within your outfit. This honestly might not be necessary for you until you hit Moria at around level 50, because it's so dang dark in that place, my goodness. But that's also going to help you a little more with your surroundings. The way that you can increase this or even decrease this is going into your settings, and it's under graphics. I personally keep mine in the 2.5 area to like 0.3, but it's completely up to you. I actually just found out that this setting existed like the other day when I was complaining about not being able to see things around me in the chat, and it helped me a lot. So definitely don't undermine this quick, easy setting that you can definitely fix. Number 3, changing your keybind for the Quickslot bar lock. Essentially what I mean for this is that your Quickslot bars that hold your skills have an unlock and a lock feature. If you lock it, that means your skills can't move. They're gonna be in the slot 1, 2, 3, etc., wherever you put your skills at. If they're unlocked, however, that means that you can move your skills into different bar areas. So if you want your number 1 skill to go all the way to number 0, because that's just easier for you, you can definitely do that. Now, I don't really remember what the whole keybind is, but this is the keybind that works best for me. Is I do Control and Q. It's actually a really good idea to have 2 keys that can activate the switch to unlock and lock your quick slots, because what if you accidentally hit 1 key randomly, you're eating a Pop-Tart, you're getting really vicious into your fighting, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh whoopsies, I accidentally hit F1 and that unlocked my quick slots, and you're already in the fight as it is. You don't want to be searching around for your skills if you accidentally dragged and dropped your skill out of your bar. Like, that just sucks, you know? So I definitely recommend doing Control Q, because it's just right there. It's all on the same side of my keyboard. That's what I personally like. And then Q I remember because of quick slots, and yeah, it just makes it a lot easier for me. And since we're talking about quick slot bars, let's go into number 4, which is essentially how to get more of them. Now, I honestly think this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in the game, but there's actually more bars that you can utilize, but they're just not active right now. So if you go into the settings and under the quick slot bar, there is a short list with check marks that say dock bar 1, dock bar 2, show bar 2, all of those. And the first 3 or so should be activated with most of the check marks. What you're gonna wanna utilize is to dock bar 4 and 5, and you can actually change them to be horizontal, but essentially this will give you 2 more bars worth of potential holdings that you could put anything in. I mean, you could put stuff in your inventory, or you could add in more skills into those bars. Number 5, auto loot. Now, this definitely might give you the wrong opinion. When you hear auto loot, you're like, I don't want to pick up everything. Well, the thing is that kind of sucks is that whenever you defeat any kind of mob, instead of having to right click them like back in the old days, you actually automatically pick up everything that they had on them, and a lot of it's going to be junk. What actually happens if you don't have this setting turned on is that you're gonna have this bag come up on your bottom right screen, and it's just gonna keep moving every time you get more into the bag. It's kind of a little outrageous how often it pops up. Then in the bag, you have to click the bag in order to access the bag. Then you can see everything, and then that is a time that you can go through and sort of destroy anything you don't want. But come on, you have inventory to pick up stuff, and then you just sell the crap you don't need. Make some coin in here. You gotta improve the LOTRO economy. Basically what I end up doing is that I just do an extra step to loot all, put it in my inventory anyway, and with auto loot, you can completely miss the bag step of having to click on the bag, then go to the bag and be like, hey, I just want everything, okay? If you go into the UI settings and under the miscellaneous category, there is just one simple check mark where you can hit auto loot, and it will literally skip the entire step for you. It's gonna save you time, it's gonna save you energy, and then you can kind of sort out everything in your inventory how you like, and you don't have to go through the extra step of having a bag to sort through as well. It's just like more inventory, but it's not even laid out as clearly and great as the inventory system is. Number 6, inventory arrangement. So in your inventory, there's actually a couple of settings within your inventory bags that are accessible, but I'm sure no one has ever really looked at them or paid too much attention to them because they're so tiny. So if you look right underneath like the title where it says bag 1, there's actually a couple of different options you could do, and they're not really explained, but there is like a wheel that's underneath the bag, and if you were to select that wheel, that actually gives you an opportunity to switch the rows of your inventory bag and essentially give yourself more spaces in certain bags. So like as you can see here, a lot of people will take like all of their bags, they'll take all of the rows and just put it in the bag 1. But no, seriously, everyone's telling me to just use one bag, and I don't like using one bag, okay? I like to have at least 2 to 3. So if you're someone like me and you want like 2 to 3 bags, well, that's great. You can take all of your rows from bag 4 and 5 and then move them to 2 or 3 or into 1, however you want. Or if you're completely on the other side, like my chat is, you want to put all of your rows in one bag. You don't want to deal with the whole other bag system. Totally fair. You can actually add in all of your rows that way as well. Number 7, skill queue. Now this is totally a preference. I actually really like this, and this helps me a lot, especially because I never know what I just clicked like 5 seconds ago. But essentially the skill queue will pop up any of the skills that you have queued up after the action that you're currently performing. So for someone like a warden, you have to be very particular of how you line up your skills, because each way that you put your skills, each different rhythm that you have them in, can essentially have different outcomes. I use this mostly as a way to memorize what I just clicked, and then that way it kind of gives me a little time to recover and what skill I should do next, especially because some of the skills I hit have really long cooldowns, especially on like Runekeeper. Definitely can help you in some certain areas, especially if you're really bad with memorization, like I've mentioned, or can help you in case you accidentally click something and it gives you a little more time to recover. Number 8, auto War-Steed slowdown. Now I emphasize this because this is gonna be a lifesaver for you when you have your War-Steed. Now if you haven't gotten this far in the game, you don't even know what a War-Steed is. Essentially a War-Steed is something that you're gonna get access to around level 70-ish, probably closer to like 75 in Rohan. Now these War-Steeds are pretty much for war. You can do combat on them, which is why they were really cool when they came out. However, the mechanics of them, not so great. It's so impossible to steer them. That's why you never see people on them just riding around Breland on their War-Steed, like unless they're super crazy and just want to fly all over the place and hit walls. It's definitely not an easy time of the game because War-Steeds are very much, they're their own creature. You don't have control, they just do whatever you want. But the auto slowdown will actually give you a little more control because that will allow you to sort of slow down while you're trying to turn, and if you don't have this on, you're just gonna go straight into a wall, probably aggro like all the groups you're trying to avoid by turning, because you need a lot of space to give your horse enough time to turn as fast as they're going, you know, because they go super freaking fast. You gotta give them some time, so you have to slow down a bit and then allow them to like turn a little slower, and then you can kind of speed up. You get the gist. But yes, if you have the auto War-Steed slowdown, which is just a simple check mark, this check mark is gonna save your life from aggroing a lot of things you really didn't want to aggro. So number 9 is more about troubleshooting, but it's to set a max amount of frame rates for your game. Now this is something I ran into a lot when I started trying to stream LOTRO. I kept having my frames drop so bad. Now my PC was like, alright, you know, it could have been a lot better. I shouldn't have had any trouble streaming LOTRO, right? But then I found out that LOTRO actually has it that you can essentially have like auto frame rate, and that can really affect your gameplay. Sometimes it can cause a little bit of crashes, but mostly for streaming, this helped me a lot. And if you need more help on those sort of areas, I definitely will link down below some of the forums that explain more about if you have any troubles playing the game or running it. Definitely check out the forums. Those are the best places to get your information. And number 10 is actually one of the pickiest settings I'm mentioning right now. I'm so sorry if you got all the way to the end of this video and you expect like this really big like setting that no one's ever thought about. So sorry, but it's not it. This is to actually externally open the LOTRO store instead of it taking up your entire screen of your game. If you only have one monitor, I don't recommend that you turn the setting on. However, if you have 2 or more monitors, I would highly recommend you do this, because this will actually allow the LOTRO store to come up on a web browser, your default web browser, and then you can essentially go through the LOTRO store on one monitor while you're playing the game on the other. Now, whenever you hit the LOTRO store, it will tab you out of the game, so that way you can kind of scroll through the store, you can look at what you want, but this does give you an opportunity to put your LOTRO store on one monitor, leave it up, tab back into the game, and then you can kind of overlook like how many deeds or how many points you need in order to get the item in the LOTRO store that you want. It can definitely help you rethink your purchases, but I also like it to be open just at all times in case I'm interested in looking at something else, or maybe I see something in the game and I'm like, how did that person get it? Oh, it's in the LOTRO store. Let me just check it out right here. And it doesn't disrupt your gameplay at all. So those are the 10 settings that I would highly recommend that you utilize to your advantage to improve your gameplay of Lord of the Rings Online. And if you want to check out more guides or tips for your gameplay, definitely check out the playlist I have linked down below as well. And until next time, I will see you in the next video, weirdos. Stay weird as always. See you in LOTRO.